Sometimes people's obviously like musical tastes or interests influence how they dress too. And I think you're a big hardstyle fan, right?
I love Hardstyle. Oh my God. Yes.
Talk about it, please. This is the area people know I'm not as educated in. I try to dabble, but how did you get into hardstyle? Who are some of your favorite artists?
It was actually funny because when I went to my first festival, because I'm so used to listening to like Calvin Harris and David Guetta, like going to the club and hearing like those type of mixes. So when I went to EDC, like, because that's like my first ever show, festival, all that. And I wasn't too familiar with all the different styles of subgenres of EDM. So like when I went, I think it was, I want to say it could have been Wasteland, it could have been Bass
Pod.
Yeah. Thank you, Bass Pod. And I don't know which one it was. And I was hearing them, it's like, no. Like I'm like, no, thank you. I don't think I can do this. So then it's kind of like, it took me a while to kind of get to the motions of different subgenres. Honestly, I think it was because somebody recommended the song, like a song to me. I can't even remember. It was a hardstyle song. I'm like, I like this. Like, I really like this. And then I remember Give Me Plur did like something on her story about how she's excited for the Wasteland stage at EDC. And she was like showing me like Angerfish and Lady Faith. I'm like, okay. So I started slowly getting into like, I was into house and like big room and like I got into dubstep, and then like hardstyle was kind of like the last one because like trance was kind of like, they hit a little different, like techno kind of like was like yes. So when I eventually got into hardstyle, I'm just like, this is my home. This is my home. This is my home. This is where I belong. And so
that's
like,
awesome.
So and it was kind of funny because I didn't go to any of the hardstyle stages until 2019, and I was like, when EDC was super duper cold, it was so windy, and Wasteland is kind of sheltered, so like you're not as cold. So I'm like, people, it's crowded in here. Let's go. And I'll end up going to see Radical Redemption, and I was like, I'm having a time of my life here. Like, oh my God, the bass. I don't know what it is about hardstyle bass, but it's like so intense, so crazy. Yeah. And then I was just having such a fun time. I'm like, this is cool. This is great. And then I remember Wasteland was being promoted for California. I was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to listen to nothing but hardstyle. And I'm just going to have the time of my life. And like, I just been like adding like so much hardstyle music to my playlist. It's kind of sad because it scares people when they get in my car because that's the first thing that's playing. Yeah.
It's definitely an acquired taste, but I feel like it depends. I mean, there's obviously like within hard dance, there's so many different subgenres, but same thing. I think if you kind of like get in the gateway and, you know, I listen to like Darren Styles a little bit because I feel like he's like an easy way in, but it's also, to like your point, it also kind of is a different experience when you're actually seeing it live, because when you walk by Wastelands, the pure like bass and like throbbing energy coming out of it, you're like, oh my God, it is. Yeah. It's definitely a lot in your face. But how was Wasteland? I remember seeing that event. Is that like a 2-day festival or that was a 1-day?
It's technically a rave when you go onto Insomniac website or whatever event page they have for you to buy tickets. They consider it a rave because it's at a nightclub for 2 days. So it's like basically like a night out at a EDM event. So it's like, it ended like at 12 or so. Like it was like so much music. It was so crazy. But yeah, it's more classified. I think they classify it more of a rave versus the actual festival. But it was 2 days. It was a Friday and a Saturday, or Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But it was more so like a rave. Just because I could picture, because it's funny, like even, I mean, EDC is just such a big festival, but you do have your individual groups, and it is funny, like if somebody is like is really big into hard dance or hard style, I feel like that whole like aesthetic in itself is so cool and like badass, and like if you were going to go to DEF CON or something like that, or like a festival that is like strictly, or Lost Lands, like heavy bass music, I feel like that whole theme you could dress up as in itself versus going to like EDC, which is going to be more like plur and neon and all that. Yeah. I tell people all the time, especially my new rave babies that I take with me sometimes. I'm like, if there is a hard dance artist you coming with me or you gonna get lost because I'm going. Because I'm like, that's kind of like one of my biggest regret, and that's the reason why I went to Wasteland, because I only saw Radical Redemption at the Wasteland stage. I'm just like, I kind of wish I went back, but you know, I was catering to other people and their styles, and like I didn't want to leave them alone. So I was like, okay, let's enjoy the night. It's whatever, let's go. But like after looking back after the festival, looking back, I'm like, dang, I wish I went to more of the Wasteland, like listen to more hard dance. So like going to Wasteland and meeting up with more hardstyle lovers like myself, and they kind of like educate me on the different like subgenres of hard dance and like what's like Frenchcore and raw style and all this stuff. And it was such an amazing experience, like to not have to worry about like, oh, I don't think this person gonna like this music, because I was surrounded by a whole bunch of rave, like hardstyle lovers. So it was really, really great.
That's awesome. I mean, it's just like such a cool, I don't know, just like a cool genre. I feel like it is something that people, maybe it's not the first introduction into EDM, like you kind of find your way into it, but the fans are so loyal and they just love it so much. So I don't know. I agree with you. I feel you on the spending more time there. I used to say to myself, I tried 2 years in 2018 and 2019. I was like, I'm going to make it a point to go to Wasteland and experience every single stage. And I missed it time and time again. And then we didn't have EDC this year. So I'm going to make it a point to finally see.
Yeah, you should come to Wasteland. Let's go to Wasteland.
I know. Well, it was like, because I'm not as versed, but isn't like Lil Texas, he's a big hardstyle artist, like hard dance artist. I want to see him.
He's bananas. He actually was at Wasteland. He wasn't performing, but he ended up going because like it was a hardstyle like event. And then actually I ended up becoming friends with one of them. I think he's based in California. And we became kind of Twitter buddies. And so like if he catching a set, I try to catch it. It's very hard because there's not so many hard dance live streams. They mostly are coming out of the overseas. They're like BaseCon have them very randomly, but you can catch them. Like DEFCON 1 had one, Mystery Land had one, Q Dance. There's so many different ones, and they constantly having them like constantly. So it's kind of like, it's very hard to like stay on top of like the hard dance live streams. But yeah, like it was actually a fun time. Like there were so many of like artists there, and they had like meet and greets, and it was really cool. So it was like more like an intimate moment because it wasn't so big. It was at I can't remember where it was, but it was not a big venue. So like they had that moment where they can like, the artists can like come out and come and do like a meet and greet. So it was like really, really cool. You don't really get that much at a festival because there's so many people, it's so crowded.
Right.
And like they like, some people are just out of their minds, like to be perfectly honest. Like some people are just like, it's just too much. Like so like some of them don't really have that much of a meetup that I've noticed. So yeah. It was really cool.
Maybe we'll see a resurgence, or not a resurgence, but I know like hard dance is a lot bigger, like in Europe and things like that. But we're seeing dubstep grow, and we're seeing like, you know, Excision drop his record label Subsidia with over 100 songs of like all types of bass music. So I feel like bass music is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger in the United States. So who knows? I mean, maybe hardstyle will be behind it, but